YouTube! Today we are back with a quick deck profile for you all on a deck that in my opinion will be making a relatively early comeback here in the BT14 meta, and that deck is MetalGarurumon. As most of the TCG community is aware, EX5 will be known as the return of Melga, with the introduction of a new X antibody line that is anticipated to make the deck once again top tier if not the best deck of the format. However, after doing some testing with some minor but I still think significant support that the deck received in BT14 as well as the most recent Garurumon starter deck, I think it's safe to say that Melga is back now and better than ever. You know, since this is an archetype that has been around for quite a long time now and is very, very well known within the TCG community, we won't have a dedicated discussion portion, as I think doing a detailed overview on this is probably a little bit redundant and probably will throw some folks for PTSD. Instead, we're going to focus on card choices, deck ratios, with a few discussion points in between, so hopefully a little bit of a quicker video compared to the other ones. So please do feel free to drop your feedback, comments, and suggestions down below in the comment section. I will also have the photo of the deck profile itself there as well for those who want to take a look. And for those of you always tuning in, once again, thank you for all the support that we've been getting. We really do appreciate it. And let's hop right into the deck profile. Alrighty guys, so to start off with our eggs, we're going to be just running 4 of the new BT14 Bukamon. Bukamon as an egg, just in general for blue decks, I think is just so good. You know, having an inheritable to give, you know, jamming potentially, I think is really good for any blue deck. But I think in particular for Melga, is extremely high value. As an X antibody deck, you're gonna definitely have a large stack Digimon, which means that the jamming sort of condition will proc, and you also have that additional battle protection layer with Garurumon X antibody. So I think those two, in addition to jamming, make the deck so good, and I think really elevates it, you know, in terms of aggression and tempo, to levels that, you know, even Melga being such an aggressive and fast deck, it just took that next step with Bukamon in my opinion. So I think you definitely run Buka as your main egg. Moving on to the rookies, we've got 4 BT5 Gabumon. On play, just to search your top 3, pick up a Garurumon in name and Omnimon as well. Again, just a searcher, you're an X antibody deck, you want to find your pieces, you want to be able to find them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And I think Gabumon is just a good searcher for it. We're going to run 4 of the starter deck Gabumon from the All 4 starter deck. Inheritable effect to give all turns plus 1k DP if you have 8 or more cards in hand. You know, with how often and how quickly Garurumon as an engine draws and cycles, you know, this inheritable is probably going to proc most of the time anyways. And is very helpful, for example, if you have like your Melga and it's suspended. You know, yes, you have your battle protections, but you also give it plus 1k additional DP, so you're kind of forcing your opponent to climb a little higher in order to get rid of your body. So I think it's just helpful to have that all turns DP boost. You know, with battle protections, again, it's not always necessary, but it is helpful. You know, and last rookie we're going to run is 4 of the Gabumon X antibody. Again, additional searcher, you're an X antibody deck, you run the X antibody line, there's really not much to say about that. We run 3 of the new starter deck Garurumon. I do like this Garurumon mainly because sometimes you can cheat out a body, which can be helpful for like getting that extra swing in next turn, or if you're able to use his effect to play out like one of these 2 guys, you know, you are able to search as well and help cycle through to find your pieces. I'm only running 1 mat, spoiler alert, so like the mat effect probably won't proc off, but I am interested to see, you know, in the future as we move on with some of these Garurumon supports, particularly in EX5, this guy's effect is going to be a lot nicer because you are upping your Mat Ashita count for sure. So I think Garurumon is going to be better later, but for now gives decent value. The inheritable of when attacking, once per turn to draw 1, trash 1, can come up as well. There definitely have been times when I've been playing with this deck and I'm like, you know, I don't have exactly what I'm looking for, and I go ahead and just swing with my level 5, I draw into what I need, and, you know, things are able to move quickly there too. So I think I like him at a 3 of. If I'm going to be choosing a particular level 4 I would rather see, it's the promo Garurumon. When attacking, draw 1 card is not a limited to like a once per turn inheritable, it's a every time you swing, you draw. So if you can imagine with what Melga wants to do, which is basically swing, restand, and OTK in that fashion, having the inheritable draw 1 with every swing really helps you just cycle through your deck and find your pieces faster. So I prefer to see him if possible. You know, you can make a debate to say run 4 of him and run 2 of the starter deck Garurumon, but I've been happy with my 3-3 split. And to round out the level 4s, sort of the most important and sort of, I guess, heart and soul of what Melga wants to do is this guy right here, Garurumon X Antibody. Inheritable effect to basically give you battle protections, right? So if you're to be deleted via battle, you can strip 2 of the same level to prevent that deletion. So this, paired with the jamming that Bukamon gives it, I think makes the deck so much better now. You know, if you have jamming, right, you're probably not going to die unless you hit an option card, which means your battle protections become live on your opponent's turn. So even if your opponent's to swing into your stack, you're guaranteed a level of protection, if not 2 levels of protection. So I think the jamming protection combo is just so good for Melga. It helps you push out even more aggressively now, because you know that your stack is going to live until the next turn probably. So sometimes you can even forsake this guy, just push the stack out, get a couple of checks in, and rebuild another stack in the back. You know, that's something that Buka has enabled and makes this deck even more faster, which is scary to say. Moving on to the level 5s, we got 4 of the new starter deck Garurumon. I definitely think really helped revive this deck in a sense. Without this, I think the deck still is sort of in limbo until EX5. But the fact that we have access to this card now, I think keeps the deck very functional, and if not, you know, breathes so much more life into it. When attacking once per turn, you can trash a card from hand to restand this Digimon. It's an 8k beater, which even without jamming is a pretty good chance of living. And then the Heritable, which is an errata, is when attacking, you can pitch a card to delete one of your opponent's level 4 lower Digimon. I've rarely procced the Inheritable, in all honesty. I've really just focused on the when attacking effect to restand. But yeah, I run him at a 4 of just because you want to see your pieces. He's a very important piece. And yeah, you gotta see him in order to make the deck work. We then run 1 of the limited Garurumon. I think obviously limited for a reason, right? Very similar effect to the starter deck where you can just, when attacking, unsuspend the Digimon if it's got Garurumon in name, which as a Garurumon X Antibody deck you will probably have. So he will restand with jamming, but then the most important and most broken part of this card is that the Inheritable effect says if you have 8 or more cards in hand, you get security check +1. So a lot of times, when this was run at a 4 of, I mean, like, he was just closing games out by himself, you know, with that Inheritable. Sometimes you didn't even need Melga to win games with how quick and how efficient this deck was. So this card, obviously limited to 1, you can only run 1 of, but so good. Rounding out the level 5s, we do run 4 of the Garurumon X Antibody. The ability to balance a level 4 is come up clutch pretty often, you know, particularly in this meta where there's a lot of decks that spit out sort of lower level bodies. I think this card can definitely, you know, put some work in for sure. But you're really using it to string along the combo OTK play of, you know, swing multiple times with your Garuru stack, Digivolve into Garurumon, unsuspend via the Digivolving effect, and then swing again, and then do those shenanigans. So definitely an important piece, which is why I try to maximize my level 5 count, because if you've noticed, the win condition, or sort of the, I guess, the gas from this deck really comes from the level 5s and their ability to do a lot of things. So that's why I've tried to optimize that count as best I can. Then we run 3 of the Melga Ace. Really good card. Probably one of the better Ace cards that I've seen, I think, of the sort of original or first Ace cards that we've seen per color. Melga Ace is just so good for turboing as well. You know, you have your level 5, you can Digivolve into Melga for 3, then pitch 3 potentially to gain 3 memory back, making a Digivolution into your level 6 for free, which in a deck that likes to go fast is amazing. An effect that I think gets overlooked a lot too is it's when attacking, you can pitch a card in your hand to delete one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon. So really great for board control. You know, if you notice, the Where Garuru X lets you bounce one. This lets you delete one. And then the Melga, which we'll talk about in a quick second, allows you to bounce one as well. So you're able to really control board very nicely with this card. Even with this guy too, right? If you're swinging, you can pitch a card, pop a level 4, bounce a level 4, delete the next lowest level, then Melga bounces one. So you're looking to not only just go for OTK and clear out security, sometimes you're able to do a lot of damage to your opponent's board state as well. So really just busted line overall. And to wrap it up, like I said, talking about Melga, you know, Digivolves for 1 over the Melga Ace. So if you can imagine just how memory efficient all of this is, so good, you know. And then when Digivolving, you unsuspend once again. When you unsuspend, you can bounce one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon back to their hand. So a lot of board clearing, a lot of board control with Melga on top of just quick unsuspend swing. So really good card. I run it at a 3 of. And then to wrap it up, we run 1 of the Blitz Omnimon because Blitz Omni for game is still a thing. 1 Omnimon X Antibody because he allows you to close out games even faster. You know, if you have the right line and the right stack and sort of the right conditions, sometimes you can Digivolve into this Omni X Antibody during a swing, like mid-swing, via X Antibody's effect, clear out their last security and potentially swing for game. So your win con almost is like 4 security as opposed to having to clear out all 5. So really good card, and it also bottom decks your opponent's board as well. Like the bottom decks their highest play cost, I believe. So really good card there. We do have a 1 of tech of Merciful Mode. I like this particularly in today's meta, right? Because you're dealing with decks like D-Brigade, you're dealing with decks like Fenrir Luga, that deal a lot with stuff in trash, right? They want to be able to bring stuff back out, pull stuff up. Merciful Mode can kind of mess up that game plan because on Digivolve you can bottom deck 10 cards from their trash in any order, so you really take away their trash as a resource by going into Merciful Mode. You also get to pop multiple Digimon with that. For every Mega that you have in the stack, you pop 1. So if you can imagine as an X Antibody deck, if you're stacking your levels, you're probably going to be able to pop at least 2 Digimon on your opponent's board, bottom deck their trash, and set yourself up for a very kind of clean closing play next turn. So I run 3 of these guys. I thought about running like a second Omnimon X Antibody, or some people had even teched in, like, I've seen like an Alter B, which I think is really spicy and really neat. But the fact that Alter B can't go on a blue, I think hurts that idea in terms of consistency. I think it works really well for like War Greymon potentially, right? But I think Merciful Mode is a lot better for what Melga can do. In terms of our Tamers, we're just running 2. We run 1 Davis from BT3 just for the searching ability and the memory setting. And then we run 1 of the starter deck Matashita. Again, like, you can do so much with this deck and not have a memory tamer and be completely fine, which is why I'm not like super worried about having a memory tamer on board. But I think these 2 are probably your best bets. I like Matt because sometimes you can cheat out a memory via like the Melga Ace or the Where Garuru to just gain that extra memory. So that can come up a lot too and just give you that extra memory to pull off a play. Davis, for obvious reasons, just helps you search for your pieces if you're bricked a little bit. So I think Davis is, I think, a staple and will always be in any blue deck for that matter. And to wrap up the Tamers, we're doing 4 Cool Boy. He's really where the gas of the Tamers will come from. You know, I think Cool Boy being able to drop for 2, search top 3, gain memory, cycle, and draw more cards later on. It's just insane value for X Antibody decks in general. And if you can imagine, like I said, with how memory efficient Blue and Melga is, throwing in Cool Boy into the mix to allow you to just gain more memory and get more resources to use, I think is just absolutely busted. Options wise, we're running 2 of the X Antibody just because that allows you to kind of string along some of these combo plays even faster. And and 2 mental trainings. The trainings are a little bit debatable. If there's a flex card that I could think to cut out, it might be the trainings. I do like it because sometimes reducing Digivolution cost is relevant, particularly going into like a level 5, or if you're missing the Melga Ace and need to get into Melga a little bit more efficiently, these guys can come up a little bit. But there are also times where I search and I hit like Cool Boy, a Werguru, or a Melga Ace. I'm like, darn, I can't pick those guys up. So there is sometimes that whiff capability with the training boost, which is why I'm not like maxing it out at a 4 of. Blue Mem boost I thought about as well, to just give yourself that extra memory and search top 4. But I opted for the mental training just because I think in today's meta, like a 2-drop to search and then reduced Digivolution costs can come up, and can come up in a big way. So I think I'm running 2 of the mental training. I think if I were to swap it out for something else, I probably would do like a Mem boost or something along those lines for additional search power. No Ice Wall is a choice, that is for sure. But I'm not doing Ice Wall mainly because there are times where I just feel like, you know, the idea of this deck is to go fast, and if you're needing Ice Wall to go for that extra turn, I mean, that's fine, but honestly, like, you're expected to go fast enough where you're on the front foot and you don't really need to rely on an Ice Wall to live. I think if you're using that, I think most often than not with this deck, you're in a pretty bad spot. So yes, I agree. It's a good security bomb. It's a good sort of sneaky option to kind of stall out a turn. But I opted more so just for maximizing my pieces so that I can find them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. But that's the deck. Like I said, very kind of staple Melga. Like, this isn't really any different from BT9 per se, outside of the new starter deck support and the new egg. But I think these pieces really just fine-tuned the deck and made it viable again. Like I said, this guy brought it back to life, and I think Buka just was the icing on top for the deck. Now, like I said, with tempo, like, Buka allows you to say, look, I don't care if I end up dying, because I can go in, hopefully get into like a level 5, do multiple checks with jamming, force my opponent to say, look, like, you're gonna have to deal with my level 5, or else it's gonna do it right, like, all over again, or go into Melga next turn. So they're gonna have to spend resources dealing with your stack, all at the same time, where since you're drawing and cycling so much, it's probably very easy for you to get back into another stack that allows you to just push up again and go for that aggression play too. So, you know, whereas Melga, I think in like BT9, BT10 was more of like a, you know, let's go for like a one-punch OTK and go boom, 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 and be very quick about it. You know, Melga can still very much OTK. This is still a very much OTK setup, but you're not as worried about getting the ideal stack anymore. You don't have to worry about saying, oh, like, I've got one shot to go for game, otherwise I'm in a bad spot. You can really just rapid succession, like, just constantly be punching at your opponent and be like, okay, I've got a stack, let's go 2 checks, boom, boom, jamming. Okay, if you deal with it, great, I've got another one ready to go. If you don't deal with it, well, I've got Melga, and I've got, you know, the turbo into my level 6 and potentially Omni for game later on too. So I just think it's so fast and so good. The key support pieces for sure are, I think, the starter deck pieces, particularly Wergurumon. And that is the deck profile. I have a photo up here for you guys who want to, you know, take a photo of it. I've also linked it in the video description down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, this is a pretty standard Melga build, but I did want to take some time to talk about it because I do think, you know, a lot of people are waiting for EX5 for Melga to come back, but I do think like Melga's just back now. You know, it's still a really good deck, really fast and really very scary in terms of aggression. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys may change or what feedback you may have. Let us know what you think of the other videos as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the yellow vaccine, TJ's DigiPolice video. We're gonna have a few more videos coming out later this next week, along with our usual commentary. So look forward to that, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.